Saravana, I'm just surprised that we met just yesterday because so many questions you're asking me are like, things right out of my head right now that I'm working on. It's true. So I just was thinking about video AI and I said, what if I got a video AI of my mom saying, Jagat, I need some money right now.
Yeah.
It's brain dead that all activity should stop right now. It could start all kinds of communal riots. It could start all kinds of issues. It's just a recipe for disaster. It's a matter of time before things go crazy. One should just go and check the kind of cybersecurity issues that you will not believe it. There's, sextortion on Zoom. You turn it off. You're, work from home, so you're working in your house. You think you've turned off the video. 2 days later, you get a call saying that, hey, I got bad news for you. You're in your bedroom and people have your video and saying, give me this much Bitcoin, else it's going to be all over the internet. In terms of resource potential, I don't think there's a country more than India. We have so many young people, all smart, educated, English speaking, and blah blah. So, but yes, like you're saying, there could be unemployment going on. What it means is there is a bit of a gap between what's there and what's required. That again, I would attribute that to, like you said, today they have so many options. It's like the 40-second economy. I can't focus on something more than 40 seconds. That's a problem. So people may get surface level ideas like, do you do social media marketing? Yeah, I do it. Do you do Facebook ads? Yeah. What's your result? Do you understand blockchain? Okay, blockchain's great. Do you know that Ethereum, 65% they host the nodes on AWS? Oh no. So the knowledge is like WhatsApp University, right? So that's why the gap is there. You have to go a little bit deep into something because everyone can get to that surface level knowledge very fast. In 2010-11, e-commerce was not about the two companies that we see today. We had, I know like Naptol, Deals for You. There were so many apps. Very quickly, it became a duopoly, and American owned.
Yes.
Okay. You look at maybe cab sharing. We had Taxi for Sure that was in JP Nagar by them. Fast Track. So very quickly it becomes duopoly because of a simple business model of anti-competition. Like I already own this much, or I dump capital on the problem, and it solves everything. So that's not free market. It's not market economics, right? Today you have maybe an Android or an iPhone, or you use Microsoft Office or whatever it's called. Office 360 or whatever. So it comes packaged with every single anti-competitive clause there is, right? You have the moment I give you docs, I give you spreadsheet, I give you video conferencing, I give you another software. This is called tying of products in the marketplace. It's not allowed, but it's been allowed to happen rampantly around the world. EU now has, is basically after Microsoft, after Slack sued them, like Mark Benioff, Salesforce owns Slack, and they sued them, and now it's being questioned. It's the same thing that they did with, the Internet Explorer. They used to package Internet Explorer with Windows, and Microsoft, Bill Gates had to testify, in front of the Fed. I think if you have strict laws, it won't happen. For us as well, right? We are victims of that to a big extent. Why would anyone download Vidphone on the phone if you already have Google Duo that comes with Android, or you have Office with Teams? I would say if we do the law right, a lot of it will be taken care.
Hi, I'm Saravana Bhava. I'm running tech startup in Bangalore for the past 5 years, and I'm a former NDTV journalist. Today I will be conversing with Jagat Iyer, who is founder and CEO of Vidphone. Vidphone is a video communication tool very similar to Zoom and Microsoft Teams. Today we'll be discussing about dark side of generative AI and how unsafe is Zoom and anti-competitive practice by big tech and how it is impacting Indian startups. So stay tuned. Hi Jagat, hi, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you for having me here.
Yes.
Saravana. Yeah.
Yes, Jagat, a quick brief about yourself. So how did you started your career? A quick introduction about your personal achievements and personal, how did you grow in your career? Yeah.
Sure. So first of all, thanks for having me here, Saravana. We fixed this up quite early, quite quick.
Yes.
And that was fantastic. I really like that. Quickly about myself. So, I'm a Bangalore boy, born here, I wouldn't say how many years ago, but probably a lot older than I look. So, did my schooling here, Bangalore, the Christ College, National Public School, of course, in the beginning. Then NIT Allahabad, so I did it's called Prayagraj now, I should not use Allahabad. So NIT Prayagraj, where I did my engineering. 2000, around 2010 onwards, we've been running the business. And of course, so 2016 onwards, it's more of a video communications focus, right? So that's a quick background on my career. I'm also a state level cricketer. I'm a guitarist. I also play golf. So these are my interests. And yep, I'm really looking forward to the questions.
So you said you're from National Institute, my previous
National Public School,
you're from REC.
NIT Allahabad, National Institute of Technology.
Even my previous guest was from REC. He's from REC, Karnataka. So he was Anup. He's also a co-founder. So I had the same question with him. Is it mandatory for a CEO or a business leader to be from a big institute like REC or IIT? What's your take, or IIM in that case? What's your take on it? I'm sure you might say anyone have the option or opportunity, they have choice to become a CEO, but how do you think that industry standard, how is that giving you a leverage, an edge over the other co-founders? What is the benefit of becoming a CEO from big tech institutions here?
Well, I would say, you come to a very good point where you said, I would say it's not, but how? So look, I think it's all about when I think back, right? So I have a lot of friends who are from National Public School here, one of the top schools here. The guys are at Princeton and MIT, also are CEOs of companies. Plus, at NIT itself, there are a lot of people. So I think the Dunzo CTO is from my college. I think a few more, interesting startups, I think they've all started. When I look back, honestly speaking, business does not have a correlation with necessarily probably your engineering degree. I don't think, because you look at a lot of the top business people, they're not necessarily engineers, right? So even I think from a Dhirubhai Ambani to maybe even, I don't know about Tatas, but a lot of them would probably not come from an engineering background. Business is generally in the commerce background, right? So find a lot of Gujaratis do very well, and Rajasthanis, Marwadis do very well at business. I wouldn't say they're engineering focused, but they're the business community. So I don't necessarily think there's a correlation, but I think and this is what my mother told me when I started, she always wanted me to go to science, right? Because I was a good science student. So she said, why don't you go? And it's basically the aptitude you build up during, I think, problem solving, right? So like when we're studying for IIT or NIT, I think the kind of problems we solve in physics, I remember those who study for IIT, they'll know, Irodov problems in general physics, or books like that. When you solve those problems, you begin to understand how to break up a big problem into smaller pieces. I think maybe that's important. Maybe also at some level, I don't think it should be that way, but maybe it's also the circles, right? The kind of peers that you have there. Typically when you hit 35, 40, 45, they are also in good positions elsewhere. So definitely that alumni network probably works. But I don't see any necessary fit as such. Yeah, probably these are the things.
That's a very clear answer. And I'm going back to your personal life. So you said your hobbies are cricket and guitar. So I want to just have a word around sports and cultural things, because most of the tech or very studious people, they are more inclined towards hardcore learning. Not right now, maybe couple of decades back, it's hardcore learning where they don't get time to spend with sports or other activities. So how did you grow or develop interest in sports and cultural things? A little bit about your sports career here.
Well, that's a great observation that guys in tech and guys who are studying a lot, probably a doctor does not get time. I was, when I was sports captain of my school, I was also playing Karnataka under 16. My teammates were Robin Uthappa, Stuart Binney. We were all teammates back in the day, right? I think 99, 2000 was when it was. And I was also topping class at that time. I would say top 3. So somehow, maybe it's from my house. My mom got me into music. My dad got me into sports. Academically, luckily, we do reasonably okay. Yeah. So it's not that all the time you will get time for everything. Right? So I started playing golf in 2015, 16, I think. and I also did the amateurs. I played for the amateurs as well in about year and a half of starting golf. Cricket, I again came back to cricket recently because I just felt I should play. I had a shoulder surgery, so I could not play much, but now I'm back. So I wouldn't say that all the time we are playing or doing everything. Yes, a lot of my career is towards work and my office, but these are very important. It's also sad. I think we must pay tribute to Ambrish Murthy as well, who recently passed away. CEO of Pepper Fry. He was on a motorcycling trip in Leh, and it's very, very sad. So I think today's day and age, sports, music, these are all very important, I feel, for any kind of sustained career. Maybe that's the reason. You need to have a rounded career. I always believe in that.
Yes, so that's interesting because recently we see Elon Musk, Zuckerberg, they are learning jiu-jitsu, mixed martial arts, jiu-jitsu, and they are fighting each other. So now they are more inclined towards, after they reach a certain level, they go grounded back. They want to show off, like they want to actually fight, or they want to get physical.
Great point. I was discussing this a few days ago. Look, without sounding rude, I've never been a nerd in my life. I have a specs, but I can live well without it as well. But of course, I do have power because of studies and a lot of programming and stuff like that. But I would say that maybe an Elon Musk and a Zuckerberg probably were in the first benches a lot. And probably the kind of, maybe, again, I'm not 100% sure about this, but when you are in the first benches, you are treated in a certain way by the guys who are in the last benches. The moment you can hire those people who are in the last benches, you suddenly feel like, okay, now what's next, right? It is shocking what's happening, because not only that, right? The whole battle of Twitter versus Threads. Now, you're looking at one person who's building, like, I don't know, he wants to occupy Mars. Another guy wants to connect the whole world or something, and they're working on text messaging applications. I find this strange. There's so much more tech to do than text messaging. So I have no clue, to be honest. I mean, maybe it is also to stay relevant at some level, as consumer brands. You must understand, they all run consumer brands. These are not business to business, B2B brands. So you have to be in the limelight. There's so much of noise today with TikTok and everything else. Maybe they feel the necessity to be, what do you call it? In the news. And maybe it's also a genuine interest. In fact, I know my college senior goes to the same class, jiu-jitsu class, as Mark Zuckerberg. So I'm not saying that they are bad at it. Why they do it, I have no clue. I really don't. There are a lot of ways of fitness, and maybe once you have a lot of children, you have kids, etc., you should probably be a little bit careful, right?
About your health.
Maybe.
So just health conscious and
no idea. I'm just, I have no clue, but I'm sure they have good reasons for what they're doing. They're smart folks. And maybe it's a good direction to, I'm not saying everyone start doing jiu-jitsu necessarily and fighting. You can fight in the ring, but probably not on the streets.
I'm sure even Zuckerberg or Musk shall adhere to that. And you seem to be a very different kind of a person. So the kind of leaders, business leaders or tech leaders, general perception of the audience or the people are not combination of everything, because they believe they have to be more studious. Again, I'm revolving around the same thing. So you seem to have multiple characters, like having a bit of sports, music, tech, and you're a good orator too, as far as the brief conversation what we have just started. So how do you develop this personality as a tech, from the tech background, as a business leader? So how was your childhood?
I had a fantastic childhood. Cannot ask for more. I was born in Bangalore. Back in the day when it was beautiful green, and it was actually it was a garden city. It was the pensioners' paradise. Now it's become the garbage city, unfortunately. So I grew up in a time when Bangalore was really beautiful to live in. The kind of people also were kind of, I think the people, a lot of how people are come from where they are, right? I do believe in that. I think if you look at areas that have been prone to a lot of conquest, where there have been a lot of attacking legions, and they've had a tough upbringing, or maybe in Gujarat, Rajasthan, where the environment itself is tough, it's hot and arid, kind of. Maybe the people are slightly different, but in Bangalore, it's on a plateau right in the center of South India. We have been kind of generally immune to a lot of issues. So I think the people also are kind of soft. You will find that about Bangaloreans. Generally, they're like, easy go, yeah, chill folks. And
They choose to relax.
it is like that. The weather is like that. It's like Ooty, right?
Yeah.
So you just chill. Why should there be any other way? So I had a normal Bangalore childhood, I think, like National Public School again. So I'm happy my parents put me in that school. It's definitely, what I learned today is that most of a child's development happens by the time they're 3 or 5 years old. 80%, 90% of the child's brain is developed before 5 years old. It's unbelievable. I came to know that later. So I'm happy that they took all the right decisions. Then Christ College, of course. So it's a great college. Cricket. So I think I had a normal Bangalorean childhood, like, play cricket on the streets. My mother's side, and they get me into music as well. So I would go with my party and mom to music class.
Okay.
Small 5-year-old boy sitting in the front over there, learning talam and ragam and stuff. So I think it's due to my family. It's just normal way, I guess.
That's interesting. So my next question would be, you said school, you were put in a very good school, and you are from REC University, REC colleges. What do you think? How important is school for a person's career? How will you distribute the weightage between school versus university? This question I ask you because ChatGPT's founder, Sam Altman, so he is also from a very reputed private school, but he went to very prestigious university, but he dropped out. And often people drop out from big universities and become tech leaders or global leaders. Is it because I think it's not the education what he dropped out? He already had very good background or a base. So how do we distinguish? How important is school education? Yeah.
There's a couple of things in your question. So one, I think school education, I don't know, my view is that it is very important, right? Basically, I think when a person comes to 20, and I'm not saying from a good school or bad school, just generally when I look at the world, and I think like if somebody is not probably from one of the better schools, maybe when they get into college, they're already a little bit behind, right? I know friends who are probably at diploma and then they come to second year, and so I do think it's tough for them. They have to fight a lot and work a little harder. But the other side is that when you go to a reasonably good school and you do pretty well, sometimes you may not work as hard as them, right? So I think in life it evens out, I guess. Those, the best way, of course, is to work smart and hard for a long time. But I don't think necessarily that's the deal breaker as such. But definitely, good school versus bad school, definitely anyone would pick a good school. I also dropped out effectively in 2007. Probably I was one of the first NIT guys to drop out and start a company in 2007. Nobody was doing that back then in India. I dropped out. I had 2 job offers. Came back to Bangalore. I started my first kind of venture in 2007. I would say that why probably Altman does it and I do it is a little different, right? His context is different, where he operates from. There maybe it's a culture, so many dropouts, and all the top guys are probably dropouts. That probably gave me some confidence in the sense that everything is not lost. You can do reasonably okay. But for me, I personally dropped out because I dropped out. Then of course I finished my engineering, but mainly it was about getting off and doing my thing for a year. I did that because I felt once I had 2 job offers from pretty good companies. I said, like, if I do this next, I can kind of zoom out to 65 years from now. When I'm 65, and see what's going to happen. But I said, let's just delay that if that's the eventuality. Let's take a year off and experiment on some ideas around internet marketing I had back then in 2007. I was also blogging very actively, building some basic websites. So I said, like, I want to try it, and And of course, I think my parents are super accommodative, right? So back then, I can only imagine what they were thinking. Like, he's in NIT 7th Sem and he's come back to start a company, but they were so supportive. And in fact, my father incorporated my company as well. So I think I could not do it if they had resistance to that.
Great. So nowadays, the dropout or rate have increased in India. Do you think it has increased?
I don't know.
No. Okay, fine.
But I won't be surprised.
Okay. So because most of the people, rather than being an employer of a company, or they prefer to be boss for themselves. So they want to want to start a venture. They want to become an entrepreneur. So what is your take on that?
So there's a quote I use saying that you can't teach spirituality to a beggar. first he has to fill his stomach, and then only you can talk spirituality to a beggar. So the way I see it is that in the initial stages, probably, we are probably same age, I don't know, but back then it was more about getting some security, right? Getting a job and making sure I can. Today I think maybe the kids, because of the overall increase in per capita and overall standards, a lot of things are assumed, and it's a lot more, I would say, entitled kind of lifestyle, which is a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. So that allows them to experiment. They have a safety net probably, and it's a good thing. I definitely think. In fact, when I started my first one, 2007, my goal, or even later on, 2010, was that I believed in young people. I thought like young people would come out and build independent things, right? When you look at, I'm talking about when a Facebook had just about happened, 2004, so 2007 it was there in India. It was kind of making noise. Google had happened probably 96, 2000 and stuff like that. So I said, what do they have that we don't have here? We had not too much going on in Allahabad, in a hostel in IT. The food not great there. I would say now things are better. But back then, no electricity. When you're a South Indian like me, and Tamilian mainly, you don't know Hindi, and you're surrounded by 2,000 people who speak Hindi only. It's not an easy life. You don't know what's going on. A lot of classes, the teachers are speaking in Hindi sometimes, so you have no clue. You can imagine probably. So it's really tough. I think that entitlement is good. It allows you to kind of experiment, and it's definitely a good thing. But the sad thing, what I see is that, look, the startup, I was speaking to a bunch of student entrepreneurs probably a couple of weeks ago. And a lot of them, of course, want to start up. They're all students who want to start up. We are probably lucky because we have survived for a while. Sorry. A lot of companies, typical startup failure rates like 90-95% in 2 years, 3 years. The startup mortality rate is very high. Now, at least in our age, very few people are starting up. So even if a lot of them failed, like the economy and things were okay. Now imagine if everybody starts up and the success rates are the same, then you have a lot of people at 30, 35 who have failed and probably things are not going on well. It's a scary thought for me. So we always see how we can de-risk that if we can, which is tough. Business is about risk, as probably you will know well. So it is a challenging thing. I wouldn't say it's like a good thing or a bad thing. I would say unless the ecosystem really supports the startup founders in probably a better way. And of course, I think the national policies should understand we have 600 million people below 30 years old. It's not a small number. And a lot of them want to be independent, be it influencer, creator, business, be your own boss, like you said. So yeah, it's good and I would say challenging. It's a tough thought, yeah.
Interesting view towards my question. From your answers, I have a couple of questions. The very first question I want to ask you is, you were saying why there is not big startup like Google, Facebook, or FAANG or MANG companies emerging from Indian subcontinent, or especially from India, where we have 300 million young talents. But we are making business, we are earning. Actually, the economy is definitely growing. We are right now the 5th largest economy globally. Where do you think we are? What do we miss? What these big companies or big companies from very big developed countries are doing here?
No, I didn't say that. I didn't complain about why we're not creating those companies. What I said is that when I was in hostel, I said, what do they have that we don't have? Typically it was online and it was PHP, or whether you knew programming or certain, soft skills, which are all generally open source. So the information divide between people in India versus people there, when you had internet, is pretty much the same, unless you're living in China, which is a different internet probably. So I said that was pretty level playing, so why shouldn't we take the plunge? Just to clarify that. So, but why the question, why we are not producing those companies? I think it's a matter of time. I mean, I don't see it any other way. We were the largest economy in the world by far, in 1000 AD, we were 25% of the world's GDP. Today we're 2 to 3%. Yes. So it's not that we didn't have success. It's just that probably since 1700, probably it's really got wiped out. But I still, we are, like you said, the fastest growing economy today. I think we're the only positive economy in the world right now of note. Yes. There could be small countries that have bigger growth rates, but nothing the size of India. So I definitely think it's a matter of time. When you look at what's happening in Valley today, I wouldn't agree with everything that's happening. Like, if you look at you name one of the top 5 to 10 big tech public companies in US, which do not have massive antitrust, anti-competition, or some kind of lawsuits going on. I think that's not a great thing. My dad wrote Companies Act 2013, and I always think about corporate governance. Now, when you look at the biggest tech companies, run their business on user data that they never actually, that users never consented to give. I think the whole thing needs to be thought about deeply. Like, is it good? So, I wouldn't say we want to build necessarily those kind of companies. People have asked me this before. We do video conferencing, and it's easy to get compared to Teams or Meet or Zoom or whatever. To me, the company that I respect, the companies that we should be building are like the Tatas, easily. I mean, there is I don't think there's any competition there. Definitely corporates are there to serve society. We should not forget that. So the amount of work the Tatas have done in various fields in society is tremendous. So that's the kind of company that we would like to build in India, where we have something about, we actually directly contribute to the society and probably have ethical business models as well.
Yes. Now coming to Vidphone. Now I would like to know more about Vidphone from the ground. So you just pointed that it's similar to, or it's the same platform like Zoom, Teams, Skype. So what is Vidphone? How did it started, or how did Vidphone started? I want to know more about Vidphone.
So Vidphone, we started off, this was probably 2016. I had done about 6 years in business, done work with some of the largest companies in the world, where we had executed projects across property management, safety science companies, and all of these are like the top companies in their field. These are all 200, 250-year-old companies out of the US for whom I had done digital transformation. Around 2016, it occurred to me that the best products or services today are not about, the best companies are not about the best product or service. It's about the best customer experience. And the best customer experience I felt was video or video chat, right? And I'm talking of 2016, so it's not today. You zoom back, 2016, what is the state of video calls? How are we doing it? So, and then I looked around and I said, like, India, less than 10% of people know English. Okay, 90% of people, you go to Tamil Nadu or Karnataka, there's probably thousands of crores of business done in regional and vernacular languages. The fact that the internet only caters to 10% of the English-speaking audience typically is not a good thing. And I felt a lot of people also know how to speak and understand a language than write a language, right? You may know to speak a few languages, but to write and stuff is a lot tough. So I said video has to happen. I started working on it and built India's first video chat app, I would say, probably 2016. We launched that before Google Duo, built right here out of India. So I basically built that out over, a few months.
Same like...
it was exactly like FaceTime, like FaceTime, like Google Duo, but before Google Duo. FaceTime did not use the exact technology that today Google Duo or Google Meet, Microsoft Teams and us, we all use. It was different technology. And that's what made the whole change. If someone asks me why video conferencing suddenly became so big, it's actually a technology change. It was previously, you would look at only, if you have done that for 20 years, you will know how to build video conferencing solutions, which is typically how a Zoom has come out.
Yes.
Right? Zoom, they're all like WebEx, and it's the same stuff that they use. You need to download the app. So why do you need to download an app? SaaS to me means off the browser. I don't need to download anything. Yes. So downloading an app actually is very, very risky because there is enough data today. You just go online. Even when you close the video chat, your client is still on, your thin client, which you download. And it is pretty much peeking into everything that you're saying even after the call. But if you're on the browser, you just close it, you're off. It's what we call secure by design. So I discovered that technology. We built it out. And it's been a beautiful ride since then. It was called Livewire back then. It was just a consumer video chat app. Then, of course, Duo launched, which was the exact same app that we had built out. We got about 100,000 downloads on Play Store back then. Then WhatsApp launched video chat. Then obviously, for us, it's like, okay, what do we do now? Because none of them have revenue models. But we are not Google or a Facebook. So then we moved to B2B, more into conferencing. And that's kind of been how the journey has been. So today what we offer is what we call enterprise grade video. I've been building enterprise software for a few years, probably 15 years. There's a difference between consumer web and enterprise web. There is a big difference, right?
What's the difference?
So consumer web is anything where you as an individual are using this internet. It's like Facebook, WhatsApp. These are things that don't, even if there is some issue, like it's not going to affect your business or your money in a big way. This is the way we broadly put it. There's consumer software, enterprise software.
Yeah.
Right? You have like probably XYZ at your company.com, which is from versus XYZ at gmail.com. It's as different as that.
Yes.
Now look at ERPs, CRMs, Tally, and other enterprise software. It assumes security. It's
Yes.
for example, a BlackBerry was more secure than the Nokia and stuff like that. So there is enterprise which requires security, which requires what we call full feature. Just imagine if you just had a hammer. To you, everything would look like a nail because you just have one tool. It's like scheduled video meetings today. But what if you had a Swiss Army knife? You have a bunch of different tools to handle different scenarios. So that's what we call full feature. So enterprise typically, enterprise software is full feature, right? It has a lot of other features that consumers don't probably necessarily have. Customization is very important. Every company would want its own look and feel, and these things are important. And also, I would say support, right? When you look at enterprise software versus you can't call up someone in Facebook and say, hey, I'm not downloading. It doesn't work. But enterprise, when you're paying money, you need to have that reliability. So today, the entire video conferencing is consumer internet. There's nothing secure about it. It's one feature, scheduled video meeting links people are sending. There's no customization. There's no support. So how can all the enterprises use such a not so secure and non-performant software? So I felt it was important to build this enterprise video for various use cases. And that's what Vidphone is. We offer advanced video products.
Okay, what is that one thing Vidphone stands out from Zoom? Because Zoom is widely known, came to be, people are aware of Zoom post-COVID. So what is that one thing Vidphone is standing out from Zoom? Yeah.
I would say it's about advancement. I did joke with people saying that only if you buy an Android, you will buy an iPhone after that. Only if you buy a Maruti, you will buy a Mercedes after that. So it's after you have done a consumer low-level product, you will then do a high-level product. So I would say Zoom has done phenomenally well in terms of the PR and the usage. If you look at the cybersecurity, I think 2 years of video conferencing has done more damage than 10 years of social media. Okay, there are enough and more problems with anti-competition, tying of products in the marketplace, dumping products. So I wouldn't say that on a lot of fronts, and their growth rate right now is pretty stalled. If you look at the last 2 quarters, it's pretty much, it's a matter of time. They say elephants take time to die. So it's not one thing. I would say yes, advancement is the answer. We are about catering to that next few billion users in the world who are probably not on video. In the olden days, you had, I'm sure you know the PCO booths, right?
Yes.
You remember the days when we would go and pay phone?
Yes.
You would stand in line in the hostels, so we had to speak to our parents once in a week. Drop a coin. So that's what I call scheduled calls. It's very similar to 40-minute time limit where you got to put another coin in. So then you got a mobile phone. You got a personal number. So we offer you a video identity. Vidphone.me/Saravana is your permanent video identity, like your phone number or your email address. So I would say it's the single word is advancement. Once you have seen scheduled meetings, we do unscheduled meetings, serendipitous meetings, asynchronous meetings, video CRM, video marketing automation, there's like.
Interesting. So is Vidphone available globally? Is it a global product?
So we have products around, we have customers around the world.
Interesting. So the company's enterprise buy Vidphone for their enterprise. Yeah, it's a yearly subscription.
It depends. Of course, we have different models. So unlike a lot of players, we don't offer just a $0 or $10 product, $20 product. Everything is not that simple. We have products that go up to $99, $149. We also do customized deals with, for example, we have one of our clients was one of the largest car companies in the world called Stellantis. Stellantis owns Citroën, Jeep, Peugeot, Alfa Romeo, I guess, Maserati. So during the COVID, during the lockdown, when all the showrooms are shut, basically they're using our video platform to sell cars. From Chennai, in fact, they have a factory in Chennai. So the pricing really depends on the use case. We have right up from freemium to enterprise custom pricing.
Interesting. So how do you see this digital transformation post-COVID, it had a huge impact in your industry, especially the video conferencing or video meetings have gone up drastically, and people adapted very swiftly post-COVID. How do you think this industry is going? Because right now you just said Zoom is stalled. Zoom does not reflect the industry, but how does the future of the industry look like here?
Well, I'm not really a prophecy guy. I'm not very good at predictions. It's not my art. But if I've had this conversation with people of late, everyone's in generative AI. I tell people video is greater than AI. That's what generally I feel about the overall growth of video as a part of our life, and how it's going to influence as a technology every single aspect of our life, be it work. You will do your yoga class online. I'm not saying this necessarily is the ideal state. You should come offline with me to the golf course or play cricket as well. But it's possible that a lot of people who don't have that access will get that access instantly to learn stuff, to meet your doctor, to even banking. So video banking is really big. If you look at how will I get, let's say Chennai, right? So if I look at a place 100 kilometers from Chennai, that's in interior Tamil Nadu. They don't have really bank accounts. They don't use it like we do. How do I get them into the financial system, financial inclusion? It's going to happen if I talk to them in Tamil. It's as simple as that. The moment we speak to them in Tamil, they're a lot more. Their trust element works. Yes. You're going to start doing things. So I see even not only India with 600 or 1.4 billion people, Southeast Asia is very similar market. They're all vernacular, like Thailand and Malaysia, Vietnam. All of that is vernacular. Africa is completely vernacular. Even Europe, to a large extent, does not like English too much. Yes. So I see that a lot of these places will see massive transformation in all sectors over the next 5 years with video.
Okay, since you pointed vernacular language, how adaptive Vidphone or your vision for Vidphone to have a video conference where I completely speak in
one language and it translates.
How it instantaneously.
We're working on it. We're working on it. So what you're asking me is it's a great question, Saravana. In fact, it's something that we're working on. If I'm talking to you in English, it will translate to Tamil and you will see it, or it will speak to you in Tamil. Instantly, real time transcription, translation. Yeah, we're working on it. I don't have a timeline right now, but definitely the technology is in grasp.
Yes, because that's something.
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Unbelievable. Even for travel, and I know so many use cases.
Yes.
In fact, one of my colleagues was out of the country. She had such a language problem. I said, just imagine if we could do that.
Yes, exactly.
You speak in your language, they understand, they speak, and you can understand it. It's definitely something that will happen.
So Vidphone is working on it.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. And I think it should be there soon. Yeah.
Okay. So since you already pointed about generative AI, what's your take on generative AI and how it's impacting the overall industry and how it is impacting overall, of course, the job market, but I don't see it negatively. That's my stance. But what's your take on that?
Well, I don't want to, first of all, I'm no generative AI expert. Let me be clear about that. The fact that it's got so much of attention cannot be ignored, which means definitely there's something fantastic behind it. However, I think in the tech industry we have this craze where we bloat up jargon beyond belief. 2017, 18, 19, blockchain, Web3, crypto, NFT, and then back in the day of 2011, 12, it was all about social, local, mobile, cloud. Tech industry, we have this madness. I think it takes sometimes jargon to a different level. It's a great technology, but I think like a lot of people would have seen Oppenheimer recently. So I think safety first is my general thesis is safety first, speed next. So until we have clear regulations on what's happening around AI, I think like a lot of people, I believe all activity should be stopped immediately.
Really?
Yeah. Because it's just too much data to be going into systems where they have a proven history of abusing and misusing user information. These are not, the most honorable companies. Let's be clear. OpenAI also was started, I think, as a not-for-profit. If you look at what is so not-for-profit about it? You're selling a premium plan at $49 or whatever. So, I don't fall too much for stuff like that. but I think definitely one should probably play safe than play fast.
Yes, because now it's really spreading very fast.
Next year we'll have another one. Don't worry. We'll have a new jargon tomorrow. Next
Yeah.
year, no problem.
But since you talk about safety, imagine it's replicating all the any voice, even my voice and your voice, it can replicate instantaneously. Imagine if any leader's voice generate, and it's some crazy guy meets with this app and he makes a funny thing, but it's gonna make a huge impact.
Saravana, I'm just surprised that we met just yesterday, because so many questions you're asking me are like, things right out of my head right now that I'm working on. It's true. So, look, the moment it came out, I just was thinking about video AI, and I said, what if I got a video AI of my mom saying, Jagat, I need some money right now?
Yeah.
It's brain dead that all activity should stop right now.
Exactly. So it's personal level. What if somebody hacked Modi?
It can not only Modi, forget about Modi. I don't know how much he uses the phone personally on apps and stuff like that because of security. But it could start all kinds of communal riots.
Yes.
It could start all kinds of issues. It's just a recipe for disaster. It's a matter of time before things go crazy.
Yes. But already the
Sorry for sounding like all doomsday, but yeah, we have seen what generative AI can do. It's fantastic. It's a large, learning model and unsupervised learning. And I always prefer supervised learning to unsupervised learning. Firstly, so it's just too many gray areas to be so crazy about. It's like Zoom. I mean, one should just go and check the kind of cybersecurity issues that you will not believe it. There's, sextortion on Zoom. You turn it off. You're work from home, so you're working in your house. You think you have turned off the video. 2 days later, you get a call saying that, hey, I got bad news for you. You're in your bedroom, and people have your video and saying, give me this much Bitcoin, else it's going to be all over the internet. Do people know of these issues? You just have to Zoom. You just have to Google search these things. So I would say, like, sometimes nowadays in the public, we are going crazy about tech trends or fads. I think we should be careful.
Okay, since you said you're talking a lot about doomsday and tech dark
No,
side.
I'm not saying. I'm saying that could happen if we are not careful, and
Yes.
which is obvious. So
Yes.
we almost had coronavirus, which was pretty similar.
Yes. So my next question is, how do we stop it? Because you're and I'm surrounded by, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 10 to 12 gadgets around us. Everything has a camera, everything has a mic in it. Everything is in a way connected to the internet. So how vulnerable we are right now?
Very. I mean, if anybody knows of Dr. Tim Berners-Lee, who is he's the father. He basically wrote the internet. He basically not internet. He wrote World Wide Web. So World Wide Web is, HTML, URL, HTTP. 3 things. And he's the father of the World Wide Web. He basically made it at CERN with Steve Jobs' next computer, probably know. And if you look at what his thoughts are towards the current state of affairs, it is scary. Which is why he's working on something beautiful, Web 3.0 called Solid, which I suggest everyone should check out. How basically you can have private data that you control, and when you interface with the internet, you can selectively give and revoke data access the way you want, which is a phenomenal technology. So it isn't very, very, I mean, people don't understand how serious things are, right? Sometimes, until it hits you like coronavirus.
Exactly. Because the moment you buy a smartphone or a device, an iPhone, the first thing anyone want to do is just next, acknowledge,
No one reads.
accept.
Yeah.
No one reads because it's very, very difficult.
No one reads
to
the terms.
read.
Yes. No one reads. Yeah.
No one reads the terms properly. They are so excited for the technology. Even for instance, if you're downloading an application like a Zoom, for instance, I have to get into a meeting, or I want to start using the tool, so I don't have time for reading the terms or comparing the product by terms, because I already compared the product by price, the cost,
And what friends told.
Yes, what the my peer or my business, what the industry is based on industry requirement, I just go by it. So this is a bit crazy.
It is. So it's a great question. How can it be solved? It's definitely not once. I think the government of India is doing a great job. When I look at on paper, I've met the minister, Mr. Rajiv Chandrasekhar. I think the new data privacy laws in India are well thought through so far. But the sad fact is that all of that we use, 95% of the apps on your phone, or probably 100%, are not made in India. Maybe a Flipkart, it's not in India anymore. I don't know which app is made in India. So it's tough because, you're putting all these rules, but you don't have any alternatives. So that's the tough part. In fact, Indian government did issue an advisory against Zoom as well in the pandemic, and you know the story, right? So they put out a contest. So it's really tough to build that kind of ecosystem. You need to build a search engine, a browser, social network, e-commerce, cab hailing, Zomato. So yeah, absolutely. And that's where I'm betting this whole economy is going. With the young people being able to build apps, I think there are a few pieces that need to be fixed, like the browser, like where things are hosted, the instances, the storage. But I think over time, slowly, it's the only real way. Policy plus protocols.
So, how do you think India is towards that self-reliant? Do you think it's even possible to have an alternate towards a Play Store, Google search engine, to the big app stores? Because these are the monopolies, right? Even though we develop an application, we have to launch it on Play Stores or app stores, or I need to broadcast my service on internet, and most of the internet market is with Google. So how do we is it even possible to be self-reliant in the future in completely?
Well, I hope, otherwise I'll have to shut down the company. I definitely think it's going to happen. It's not easy. How do I put this, right? So we thought we didn't have alternatives. Maybe today, if you go and see physical products, right? Some time ago, it was like, before the whole China and the COVID issue, there was a joke saying that everything you turn in your house, suppose you turn your house upside down, whatever falls is all Chinese. Okay, and that even your footwear, the footwear market, 95% is Chinese. So suddenly, and I feel like the more we have these individuals, young people who have ambition and are trying things will happen. But in one word, if I have to put it, I just say, it's about the laws, right? Now, today you have maybe an Android or an iPhone, or you use Microsoft Office or whatever it's called. I mean, Office 360 or whatever. So it comes packaged with every single anti-competitive clause there is, right? You have, the moment I give you docs, I give you spreadsheet, I give you video conferencing, I give you another software. This is called tying of products in the marketplace. It's not allowed, but it's been allowed to happen rampantly around the world. EU now has, is basically after Microsoft, after Slack sued them, like Mark Benioff, Salesforce owns Slack, and they sued them, and now it's being questioned. It's the same thing that they did with, the Internet Explorer. They used to package Internet Explorer with Windows, and Microsoft, Bill Gates had to testify, in front of the Fed. I think if you have strict laws, it won't happen. For us as well, right? We are victims of that to a big extent. Why would anyone download Vidphone on the phone if you already have Google Duo that comes with Android, or you have Office with Teams? I would say if we do the law right, a lot of it will be taken care. Like in 2000, let's say 2010-11. E-commerce was not about the two companies that we see today. We had, I know like Naptol, Deals for You. There were so many apps. Very quickly, it became a duopoly, and American owned. Okay. You look at maybe cab sharing. We had Taxi for Sure that was in JP Nagar by them. Fast Track. So very quickly, it becomes duopoly because of a simple business model of anti-competition. Like, I already own this much, or I dump capital on the problem, and it solves everything. So that's not free market. It's not market economics, right? So in my view, if just the law is really strict, which I hope, I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't see it happening soon. But if you ask me an ideal answer, that's how it'll happen.
That's what China have done. They have Baidu, they have Alibaba, they have TikTok. They don't use YouTube. They don't see Google. They don't use Amazon. They are successful global products as well, like TikTok is now taking the market share of YouTube as much as possible, or any other it's fastest growing social media platform. So should we have such strict laws like China, like India?
Absolutely not. I mean, I'm a liberal, and I don't think there should be, because generally technology will go faster than lawmaking. It's not possible for lawmaking to catch up to tech. but you need to have some fundamentals. Look, I think China, what they've done, I don't know with what's the intention, why they recently they had a big tech clampdown on a lot of consumer web. That is what I said, consumer internet, which is people on Instagram, TikTok, whatever you name it, right? So first of all, they don't have Instagram and all, but even on Weibo and WeChat and stuff, there has been like severe, what do you call, crackdowns. In India, I was doing this calculation. We spend 2.5 hours a day on social media on an average, each person. 600 million people below 30 years old. That's like 1.2 or 1.8 billion man hours every day that we lose. And apart from a bit of entertainment value, maybe some old friend who you can catch up with from school, what's the economic value for our country? We need to think about that. So I wouldn't say crackdowns, never, because one of the reasons we have such a thriving web ecosystem of developers is because things were open. I'm not saying China does everything right, but it's tough to walk that line, but it has to be open but fair. Then it works.
Interesting. That's your discussion what we are having right now. Now I have to go back to what you just said in the initial part of our discussion. You said you saw Bangalore very beautiful when you were a child. Now it's turning not to be in a positive way. I recently saw a post. It's on my laptop. I'll show you later. So basically, the post says this: they compare Tokyo with Bangalore. It's pretty much in terms of geographical way. Everything is similar, and the population it's quite larger or bigger than what Bangalore right now is. And in terms of public transportation versus private personal transportation, it's 8% of Bangalorean, around less than 10% use public transportation. Mostly they prefer private, whereas in Tokyo they prefer close to 70 to 80%, or over 80% prefer public transportation. And it's better, the environment is better, the infrastructure is better. How do you think, as a tech leader and as a Bangalorean from childhood, how do you see this?
This is just urbanization. It's just a simple thing. Urbanization happens to all cities in the world. I'm sure there are traffic jams in Shanghai, in Beijing, in New York. They're probably worse than Bangalore. I don't know if they're worse than Silk Board, but pretty bad. So, look, it's great to make comparisons. Also in Tokyo, they must understand that a lot of people are, older. So they won't move much. So you don't need to move for traffic, right? Here we have all young people. So you have to keep moving. So I wouldn't make a direct comparison like that. Really, no idea. We have transportation engineering and civil engineering when we studied it. A lot of it is when you ask. I was on on ET Now sometime back when the HSR floods happened. I think I was with Mohandas Pai and Harish Bijur, where the anchor asked me as an engineer, what are the solutions? I said, like, how the government gave land to Infosys and everything, Electronic City. You make a civil engineering sandbox and you come up with solutions for the city. I think it's the only real way. You do a sandbox and you say, okay, you try it out. So it's a very tough one. At the same time, I don't see Bangalore is not beautiful. I wouldn't say that. It is still beautiful because there are folks like you and so many people here. But, maybe the traffic is definitely a problem. So, but something that we should see what to do.
So how do we cope up? Because
use Vidphone. So video conferencing is good.
Don't travel, don't go to office.
Avoid it. I think definitely it's a good thing, right? So overall also we are seeing that there is this whole war going on between management and employees.
Yes.
Right? Employees don't want to come to office. Management wants them in office. The answer many times is like Buddhism. It's the middle way. It's neither, hybrid. What is hybrid? It's not remote. It's not in office. It's somewhere in the middle. So generally, it's a sweet spot in the middle. Depends on your skill and how many people you have to report to, or independent work, dependent work. So there is a degree. It may change. It's not that every day we keep eating, sambar and rice. Some days we made sambar rice, some days we made roti sabji or koot or whatever it goes well. So I think it's tough to look at life binary like that. Everyone at home, everyone in office. It will be hybrid. We just have to. I think it's a new way of working, which I think actually is the right way for knowledge workers to work. We were working like industrial age people.
Yes, exactly. Have to go to
we were working
building.
Coal mine.
Yes.
So that coal mine mentality has changed now. So I think it's a good thing. This is how knowledge work should work overall. But it will take a few years. It took so many years for us to perfect HR policies for the coal mine, So it will take us a bit of time, but I'm sure we'll do it faster than the coal mine.
Interesting. How do you see resource, your team members? Most of them don't call team members, they call the resource workers or members of the company, colleagues. So how do you see that? How is the working culture right now? Because there are immense opportunities, at the same time it's very competitive, and there are less reliability in terms of continuing one's position or one's because our fathers worked in any industry or occupation for, let's say, minimum 15 years, 10 to 15 years they stick to a company or a organization. But right now there are options. It's just months. Within months they can new opportunities are coming up. So how do you think the current culture among employee versus employers?
Definitely it's blurring. Right? A lot of employees want to have, like you said, be your own boss, be in control of their work. Nothing wrong with that. So I think, again, so there's an analogy or a similarity to even computer science, right? We have this master slave. When you look at hard drives, you just call it primary or secondary, or you can call it master and slave. We also can call it client and server. Sorry, the server, which is the master, and the client, which is your device. There has also been the mindset in our office from the coal mine era, right? So where you had this person who was more of a disciplined guy. He was not really a leader or someone who, made you achieve really what you also did not think you could achieve. Today, the role of the leader is probably that. It's to unlock sides of you that you never thought were existing. Like, I asked some people, like colleagues, like, do you think you would have done this? You would have built out a video conferencing app that's like, that people switch from a lot of big players to us. They would not have thought they would have done it. But probably that's my job, to find it out for myself and for others as well. So I think that's happening. And generally, again, towards Web3, we move towards a peer-to-peer architecture versus a client-server architecture. So we will learn how to live this new way. Definitely, I don't think the coal mine attitude of master-slave necessarily may work in a knowledge industry. It does not work. Knowledge industry is about unlocking the best of you, not keeping you in some bounds, right? So, nobody really has the answers. How I treat it in my company from day one, I always tell people, like, we are only hiring leaders. I want you to lead me. You're not an employee. Like, even if you're coming in as a junior developer today, the goal is that I want you to be CTO. That's it. I'm only seeing a future CTO. Now, whether that happens or not is up to you. But we don't see them at the current situation at all. At least I don't personally see that. And yes, in the office, obviously there is an element of seniority probably because we know more about what's going on than somebody who's just come in. But that does not mean that we want to keep people in this what we call pyramid scheme, right? You see you on top and all the freshers down. That's not the way we want to approach it. We want to create a new kind of company. There's no question about that, where it's probably an inverse pyramid, right? Where people come in here and then everyone's able to have enough space at the top. But it's tough. It's a corporate. It's a corporate culture and probably an organizational. It's a challenge that needs to be addressed.
So this is just a thought. As a business leader, what's your opinion on employees becoming stakeholders of the company?
From day one, I have no question about that. So, look, it's a complex question. So, my dad basically wrote Companies Act, as I told you, and so I had the fortune of, very early on in my life to discuss with him intricacies of corporates and shareholding and reserves, balance sheet. Today, when we look at Web3, the Web3 lingo is called. They use the word DAO. It's called Distributed Autonomous Organization, and we have the word company, which is private limited, shareholding, stuff like that. Now everyone's like Web3. Basically, people are like associate directly with crypto, right? And this is to do with fiat money and shareholding and shares and stuff like this. What's the middle path again? So the way I look at it is, there's a middle path. Think about something like an ESOP, right? So you have the concept of ESOP, which everyone knows. But what's the fear there is about what we call voting rights. So there are different types of rights of a token, right? So you can have governance rights and maybe some financial benefits. So in the US and other places, there's something called an RSU, which is called a restricted stock unit, which can be used instead of an ESOP. So it basically gives you the financial benefits as an employee if the company does well, which is definitely why they are there. But not necessarily, you get into the management or the voting rights part of it, because even they don't really probably care about it. So I would say advanced methods like this will definitely accommodate both interests. But it's a question of knowledge again. We got to know that something called RSU exists.
Yes, exactly.
I can unlock value for my employees without losing shareholding, stuff like this. But everyone's happy. Yeah, probably RSUs may be the answer. I don't know. But it's definitely a potential, something of that kind.
Okay. So right now, what do you see? Is there an unemployment issue, or is there a shortage of resource or shortage of talents? Because I see there is a huge demand for talents, but still in some parts or some areas, people believe even from metro cities, there is an unemployment issue here.
No, I think the stats, I don't have that at the top of my head right now. But to be honest with you, in terms of resource potential, I don't think there's a country more than India. We have so many young people, all smart, educated, English speaking, and blah blah. So, but yes, like you're saying, there could be an unemployment going on. What it means is there is a bit of a gap between what's there and what's required, right? That again, I would attribute that to, like you said, today they have so many options. It's like the 40-second economy. I can't focus on something more than 40 seconds. That's a problem. So people may get surface level ideas like, do you do social media marketing? Yeah, I do it. Do you do Facebook ads? Yeah. What's your result? Do you understand blockchain? Okay, blockchain's great. Do you know that Ethereum, 65% they host the nodes on AWS? Oh no. So the knowledge is like WhatsApp University, right? So that's why the gap is there. You have to go a little bit deep into something, because everyone can get to that surface level knowledge very fast, right? And that job, that job opportunity is going to go to that guy who knows a little bit more, right? So, but do you know that much more? Probably that's the way I'm looking at it. If I had to get into a job today, I would say really like, am I really the best fit? Would my organization really, grow with my contribution, as opposed to saying what's my package? Probably.
So, what's your take on people who want to start their career in be part of this growing economy, like being part of this growing companies? What should they do? Should they focus on their particular skill and try to master it, or try to learn as much as deep knowledge they should have, like just you told? Could it be any skill? Could be video editing, photography, or programming? Could be any skill. So what should they focus on? There are a lot of people might be watching it who want to get into a tech industry, want to start their career in tech. So what's your advice for them? Yeah.
Well, I'm nobody great to give advice, but
I would
just share maybe my thoughts on it, because I've done some thinking on this. Look, I think some of the most important skills you never learn in university, things like finance, things like creativity, which I think are the real important skills in the world. People ask me about ChatGPT. Tell me how creative is ChatGPT? Not very. So we have moved from an age of productivity to an age of creativity. I think, all of these apps you spoke about, and Google, Microsoft, Apple, IBM probably started it with workplace productivity. It's like, how do I maximize this guy's 8-hour day? We have maxed that out. And today we are entering an age of creativity. That's why you have creators. The word creator economy. Now, I thought that was Brahma. I thought the creator was Brahma, right? Suddenly it's everybody is Brahma. So, creativity is one of the most important skills. Finance is super important. Leadership is again a very important skill that nobody really teaches you. You can't go to MBA and become a leader. How to handle failure is a great skill. Now, I think these are the real important skills in life. Sure, you have a vocational training, programming or legal writing or videography or whatever it might be, a certain skill set. Now, to say what's good for people, well, really contextual. It really depends on where they are from and what's their kind of background, and at what time they want to do it. But I think I would say overall in business, if someone asks, like I'd say start early, as early as possible. It's clear you don't need too much work experience. At least if you're doing like consumerish apps and things that are solving an end user's problem like you. If I'm 19 years old, maybe I can build a dating app for a 19-year-old guy. I don't need to think but I can't build like some supply chain related thing for some, company, logistics in Saudi Arabia. I cannot envision and see what's the process and build that. That would happen with someone who's got some experience building those enterprise apps. So I would say it's contextual, but generally as a rule of thumb, I would say if you want to start business, start early, because then you have, nobody really cares if you fail it when you're 21. Simple logic. That's why I started. It's like Bezos calls it the regret minimalization framework, which I think is a great framework. If you're 40 and do you regret not starting up when you were 22, you just got to think about that. That sorts out.
Interesting. So, do you have any mentors in your life?
Well, sure, lots of them. So I think I started with Srinivas. My initial mentor was by a person called Srinivas Pannala, who's IIT, IIM, and also Kellogg. I mentioned these because he also started a company which was supposed to rival Infosys at the time. And when I came in 2007, and again 2009 probably, he was good enough to offer me a couple of desks for my team. So we used to work out of there. Gave me a bit of thought process into how to build software and stuff like that. Plus, Shiva Subramaniam is another person who's also my client, at the same time also a mentor to me. I think also Vicheta Shastri, who is ex-TIE, ex-NASCOM, now at Dexter. I think at some level he's also a mentor to me. I have a lot of mentors. I learn from pretty much anyone. I mean, in fact, at some level, even if we have the security guard in the lift with me and he tells me something, I'm like, I think that's a great thought, right? So mentor is probably a large word, have a method and every week we catch up or something like this. I don't have any like that, I would say. But in terms of learning from, definitely, I think a lot of people. My team as well. Yeah.
How important is mentor for leaders? Because especially business leaders, should anyone have mentor? Like, how do they find these mentors?
There's a quote in Buddhism which says that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. It's a great quote. So you should never go seeking out a mentor. Maybe you can go seek out a guru or mentor or whatever. Again, it's not like a necessary and sufficient condition or something. I think if you're fortunate enough to find, it's like finding probably a good wife, right? If you're fortunate, you get it, good for you. Yeah. Otherwise, just be a bachelor, be like Modi or Yogi or Vivekananda. So, probably depends on the context, but if you get it, why not? It's a good thing. But that should not stop you from doing what you want to do. There is enough knowledge you can get from wherever you want as well.
So, do you have any thoughts on Indian political things? You want to go into that discussion or just?
I mean, I don't mind going into the discussion. I never say no generally, because you ask me that, I don't like to say no. But generally, in my role as a business person today, maybe I just focus on the business.
So, what policy that you want badly needs change?
Definitely Competition Act.
The non-compete act.
Yeah. I think in terms of the Competition Act generally in India, CCI, they should take up a lot of these things. So overall, anti-competition is a big problem, and Competition Act should be not only reviewed but enforced in India. It's very important.
Okay.
That's when you have a fair market, right? Otherwise, it's just like we all know what's happening generally in business. Either it's one side or the other. It's who's in power and their people, or who's and the next time it's the other people and their people. That's what's happening, and it's not too tough to see, right? Everyone knows that. Clearly, we want clear market. I'm not saying that it'll happen overnight, but hopefully we get to a place where we're able to enforce basic civil laws and rules. I don't think that's too much to ask.
Okay. I think I'm almost towards the end of this podcast, and your closing thoughts for our audience. Do you have any closing thoughts? Yeah.
I think you're doing a fantastic job. Great questions, right? I've been in a few interviews. This one's phenomenal. My message is, is what my dad told me: freedom with responsibility. It's as simple as that. Everyone has freedom with responsibility. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
And stay happy.
Thank you, Jagat. Yeah.